I've got to start the intro there, Paul. I should be it now.
Hello and welcome to episode 77 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Join us tonight, we have Terence, Ter161 from our forum page to the podcast at www.celticrumours.co.uk. On the show tonight we will talk about today's 3-1 victory over Livingston at the Tony Macaroni Stadium. We will also look ahead as Celtic turn their attention to the Dundee United game in the Scottish Cup final next Monday the 14th. And we'll also take topics from the live chat. So if there's anything Z-lads want to say on today's game or next week's game, please let us do and we will read out the comments. Firstly though, I'll hand off to Mark for a few shout-outs.
Thanks again, Paul. A few quick shout-outs to Tim Alloy, Richie, a Glasgow Green, be John United Ireland as well. Hope he's getting on alright. Big shout out to Mikey as well. Mikey and Jonas were meant to be coming on tonight, but Mikey's mum's dog had a wee bit of incident kind of thing, so he's at the vets with his mum and the dog, so obviously he'll not be well, unless he's back, I don't think he'll be appearing anyway, but hopefully the wee dog's alright as well, Paul, you know what I mean? Who's in the live chat here? There, the Jabber a job he's in. Terence, he's coming on. Will I Am, Stubbsy's horse, Brian. Hi Brian, I don't know, Brian, do you come onto the forum or that? If you're not, come along, join the forum. www.celticrumours.co.uk. Come on and join us in there. It's a good laugh in there at times as well. Stubbsy. I think that's everybody, Paul. We're up to, but we lost a subscriber again. That's us back down to 533, I think it was, Paul. But but we'll find it. It's some guy doing it to us. I'm convinced it is. Is it you?
Yeah, just.
Is it you that's? It's you that's. Is it you that's doing it?
Clicking off then again, I say so. I just don't definitely doing that. You know, definitely.
But as I said, if you please subscribe, hit the like button as well, and if you know how, leave a comment, share it on your social media and stuff like that to help the channel grow. Lads, thanks very much.
So finally, after 5 times, Celtic have beaten Livingston at the Tony Macaroni Stadium. Celtic haven't won here since the 4th of August in the 2018-2019 season. Celtic manager
Are you, Paul, just to interrupt you, you sure about that? Because see on Sky today, the guy said that Celtic couldn't beat them for 2007.
No, it's 2018. I looked it up. It's on the list of matches.
I mean, just saying that the other night as well, and then but one of the guys on Sky, I don't know whether it was a commentator or somebody at half time or whatever it was, but one of them today said it was nearly 15 years. 15 years.
I saw that on the Sky Scotland Twitter as well. I'll get it there actually. I'll send it to you.
No, no bother. No, I'm not saying you were wrong, but kind of just I thought maybe I'd heard that wrong as well. Do you know what I mean?
I suppose Celtic manager planning the changes today, deciding to go with a bit more physical in the team today. The start lineup was Hart, Ralston, Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, Roger, Beaton coming into the McGregor's role, with McGregor pushing up forward. Forrest, Marita and Yata. The subs, Giamacca, Sabata, McCarthy, Gucci, Bain, O'Reilly, Hayate, Welch and Jovanovic. Goals for Marita, Devlin with an OG and Forrest to win as Celtic remain 3 points clear at the top of the table. Terence, there with us, Mackenzie?
Yeah, I think so. You there, Terence?
I am indeed, gents. Good evening.
Terence, evening, Terence. Thanks for coming on again, bud.
No problem.
Terence, it's a stadium that's caused us a lot of problems over the years, and finally we got the result there today, and I think Ange got his lineup right, going with a more physical team today.
Yeah, I mean, when you kind of first saw the lineup, you were kind of a bit not sure about this now, especially when it's a very brave call to leave certain players like Juranovic out of the team, but I mean he was proven right. I mean, the team, that's as good a performance as I've seen up back to the Aberdeen game. Start to the Aberdeen game, I thought they were excellent. It says a lot when probably the worst player for Celtic was Callum McGregor today. In my opinion, he didn't have his usual high standards, but they and like Michael said there in the last time he was on, within the first 5 minutes you knew what type of game it was going to be. Celtic started on the press and pushed them from the very first few minutes, and you kind of said to yourself, okay, yeah, they're up for this. They're up for this big time. It's not going to be the slow passing, pedestrian kind of football, and it was excellent. And I mean, even the subs that came on, they did their part. They did it well. I mean, Giakoumakis came on. He must be a nightmare to play against. He must be an awful pain to play against because he's so pulling and dragging and physical, and he won a lot of frees. So yeah, I thought it was an excellent performance, and as I said, they kind of they deserve to be a lot more than 1-0 up going into half time, in my opinion. But I just thought control the game.
Again, Terence, he made it. He's not a bad keeper there. He's caused us a lot of troubles over the years as well, hasn't he?
That was the first goals he's conceded against us. I heard him saying that as well, Paul.
Yeah.
But as Terence is saying here, I thought it was considering the dread that we had, Paul. We both said the other night that we thought this was one of the ones the games we've got that could be a potential banana skin. But everything considered, Paul, the pressure that was on the players because of the history of the fixture, the pressure that was on them to get the 3 points after they scraped their win yesterday, and the pressure of playing on that surface and that. I totally agree with Terence. I thought it was a fantastic performance for the team today.
Look at your Skype there, Mark. I just sent you the results, and if you scroll down the end, it's Celtic 3, Livingston 1, 2018 to 2019 season.
I think that was in the cup though, Paul. I don't think they'd beaten them there since something like 2008. Some crazy stat. Like I thought they beat them in the cup in Livingston, but I didn't think they had beaten them in the league there in a long time. No, I could be wrong. Like, but it's.
That's what Stubbsy said as well. He said that was a cup game.
It was a cup game.
So it was, Paul.
Anyway,
we did beat them at the stadium, but I think it was maybe the last time in the league. It was like 2007 or something like that, Paul. We've got to put it in perspective as well. For a long time they weren't in the league.
No, they were out for ages.
So you've got to look at it for that kind of perspective as well.
They came up. the league, the 2018, I think, Mark. That's when they
Was
first
that when they first came back
came
up?
back
Aye,
in,
sir.
came back into the league.
I mean,
like,
they were doing in that lower division for a good long time, weren't they?
Just something I noticed in the game as well today, Mark, is are we more of an attacking team when Radisson is playing?
I see. You mentioned this the other night, Paul, and a couple of guys in the live chat. I see today. I saw what you were kind of talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He does offer a lot going forward, didn't he?
Don't they like he was like, if you look at the difference in the right wing and the left wing with Taylor, Radisson is the forward player there. He's the one that's hitting the byline. He's the one getting in the crosses. You know what I mean? And I think if we're going to be playing Marcus in games, Radisson has to be the player that has to play to get the crosses into to Marcus, you know?
Well, if you're playing with Giacomakis, Paul, the more kind of crosses you get into the box, the better chances you're going to have really into it.
Mm-hmm.
So as you say, maybe that's something that, like, I get with certain teams in that, it's going to be Ralston, and I would go with Juranovic on the left as well, but in saying, I mean, Taylor, I thought Taylor had a good game today.
He did, in fairness, and he put himself through the walls again, Mark, didn't he?
I took a few
clobbered there, clobbered there, and a few things there as well. But
there was even one point, I think it looked as if he was going to get off injured, wasn't it? Juranovic was getting stripped on the bench.
There was another player that I was very impressed with today because of the last time he played Livingston, he had a horror game, and people are saying he wasn't good enough. But Terence today, Starfelt did everything right, didn't he?
All Starfelt has hardly put a foot wrong since they've come back from the break.
Mm-hmm.
I said this on one of the previous podcasts. I think since he come back, he's got way more physical.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously someone's dragged him aside or he's realised himself, but he's gone way more physical in the way in the challenges, the one-on-ones. Even the other night in the St Mirren game, for me, he was the one that was driving out with the ball every time he got it. He was looking to pass forward. He wasn't necessarily looking for the sideward pass or the backward pass. I mean, he won a load of headers. Probably nearly all his headers, and he won an awful lot of challenges. The only thing you would like to say to him is sometimes you can't win a ball, and you kind of throw yourself into a challenge. That, rather than just standing up and shepherding the forward. That would probably be the only downside I would say to him at times. And especially the way we can be susceptible to free kicks and stuff. It's something that, he just might have to watch in his game. But generally speaking, he's been very, very good. I thought he's been excellent again today.
I'm a big fan of Starfelt, as you know, Paul. But there's what Brian's saying in the live chat there. Needs to keep up and be consistent. I think that's maybe one of the things, because he has had some games that he's not played well. There's no denying that. But the ones he's played well far outweigh them. So I agree with Terence as well. He's really kind of toughened himself up a good bit as well. And I think it's just maybe he needs to kind of focus on getting like a kind of consistency.
Because the other side of it, sorry, Paul. The other side of it, Mark, is that like a lot of people need to consider as well is, like, he's a right-footed player playing on the left side.
I know.
It's like.
But Buzz makes a big thing about that. Trying to get a left-footed player in there. Buzz makes a big deal about that as well.
It'd be like sticking Taylor to right back or Ralston to left back. It would probably show when you're predominantly a right footer. You know what I mean? It just shows how good Juranovic is, that he can go to either side, and it doesn't really make a huge amount of difference to him. But that's a huge thing for me, like, because you can see it in him sometimes when the ball comes, like one of the fouls today, he obviously swung with the left foot, he didn't see the guy coming and he kind of clobbered him. So it must be really, he deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing, because he's doing it very, very well.
Mark, it was just near the end of the first half there. It could have been 1-1. It could have been this game could have been turned to its head at 1-1 when it was another set piece. Livingston hit the post. It's still a big problem with Celtic, these set pieces, and when we're giving like silly free kicks away like that, it's like a penalty still, Mark, isn't this?
We're going to be under pressure with set pieces. It just seems to be
I think they were the biggest team, I think, in the league, I say, Mark. Livingston,
some of the
they were
players
big
were
lads.
the big guy was he up front for them. The big guy, he was a pure monster. But I don't even know what his name is. But he was a monster. He was head and shoulders above anybody really. But it was it was a big test. We knew it was going to be a big test, and we've came through it. And that's we can't. I mean, really, we can moan, we can see that a goal, blah blah blah. But if anybody had offered any Celtic fan a 3-1 win at that game the day before it, they'd have took their hand off for it, Paul.
And what about James Forrest, Terence? Like we were saying, like, can he get to his best? Can he get the thing? But today, I think it was one of the best games James Forrest played in Celtic jersey for a long, long time.
He had a cracking game, Paul. In fairness to the guy, you have to give him plaudits as well as give him the criticism. I thought he really, really played well. But I think he really played well from a point that you just made at the start of the pod. It helps having Ralston on the right with him, because Ralston he overlaps. He gives him the option. So if the man doesn't go with Ralston, Forrest can put Ralston into space. If the man does go with Ralston, he's given James Forrest the space to go into it and the chance to cross. Now he took his goal brilliantly as well. He made a great run for it.
And that's the benefits of Andrew's system, Terence, isn't it? Like, we know that's not part of James Forrest's game anymore, that Ralston is there, and the point you made, like, that Ralston is creating that second option for James Forrest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And he's allowed him as well, because of Ralston's overlapping and constantly been there for support. James Forrest hasn't been double teamed, and you know what I mean? So if it is 1-on-1, he still has the ability to obviously not all the time, like anyone, but he still has the ability to be able to get past the guy that yard and get the ball in. So, like, I was delighted from today. I mean, he took his goal really, really early. He took his goal like a guy who was full of confidence. And I think you could even see after he scored, he didn't really celebrate much. It was nearly, you wonder, was it a sigh of relief from the guy to kind of go, okay, maybe I won't be getting as much dogs abuse as I've been getting, you know what I mean? But no, he did. He did well. He did very well. It was probably, obviously, it's easy to say it was his best game we've seen in a long time, because it would have been like,
You look at him today, Mark. He had 43 touches, 8 in the opposition box. He completed 24 passes out of 25. He'd 1 chance created. He 2 shots on target, 2 shots both on target. His first goal of the season, and he's now scored in 13 successive league seasons for Celtic.
That's his first goal of the season, aye.
First goal of the season, yeah, but like, he scored in 13 seasons in a row, Mark. Like, so I know we can criticise him and things like that, but he is a Celtic man, Mark, and like he has some record for Celtic, Dundee, in fairness to him.
Oh, you can't take that away from him, Paul. I mean, he'll be up there with one of the, like, Conway's Trophy Hall. He'll be up there with some of the greats of Celtic past. Do you get what I mean? He's been a good. You can't fault him for being here so long. He's been a great servant to us over the years, but I still don't know if he's going to have much of a future at Celtic, Paul. I really don't.
But why do you think, like, Dr. Ange's selection today, Mark, that he went for Forrest instead of Abada? Was it purely because maybe Forrest's experience in these games that maybe Forrest would have?
That just playing on that surface and everything. I was surprised at the starting lineup, but as Terence says, Ange proved his all wrong, kind of thing. But the one thing I would have definitely started Gio Kamakis, but Maeda got his goal as well. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was just because a bit of experience in the team, and somebody that was
mostly it. Yeah, he kind of went for more.
And because he will run at players as well, Paul. You get I mean, Forrest against these big lumpy defenders, as we saw the day when he plays well, he is really effective. It's just he's not been playing well or been effective in a long time for us.
And what about Beaton slotting in there, Terence? What did you think of his role today that he's setting in? Is he more suited to that role than Callum McGregor?
I think in a game like this he is, because you needed the physicality of Beaton in there. He's not going to be shy to stick in the boot. He's not going to be shy to make the challenges, because you knew Livingston were going to be playing long balls all day, and for him, he's going to drop back deep and help out the centre halves. Like, he's one of the taller guys in the team, I imagine. He looks like he's probably 6'1" or something like that, give or take. You know what I mean? And he knows that role so well. and that's a big thing for me. He knows that role so well. I would have worried if you had Rogic, McGregor, and say O'Reilly in the team for argument's sake. But I just think Beaton gives. He's like that. I don't know. He's like the comfort blanket for the defense. You know what I mean? He does. He's not going to stray. He's going to stay where he is. And I thought he had a really good game, and he moved the ball quickly. And the one thing that Beaton seems to be good at, he knows his limitations. He doesn't seem to try something that he can't do. For me, and he does the simple things well. And I thought he'd a fine game. But I think it's like Mark said. I think Ange went for guys who were really tried and tested over this pitch, over these opposition. See the guys he brought back in today. So yeah, I thought Beaton had a really good game in that holding run.
Mark Bryan says there, like, because of the negative hype playing against Livingston, I honestly think that this could be a massive turning point for us to look going forward to win the season. Like, the players and management must be buzzing over this, Mark, because it's been so long, and it's actually Ange's first victory against Livingston as well today. Like, so, like, it's a massive win like today, Mark. Because everyone thought we were going to drop points. Even BBC Scotland was saying
it's a huge win.
Drop points.
It really is a huge win, Paul, because it was one of our most difficult fixtures. It's the one that we were kind of worrying about. I mean, I was more worried about today's game than I'm about going to Ibrox. Just because of how we've struggled there and struggled against Livingston, and I keep going on about the pitch. The pitch is a disgrace. That shouldn't be allowed in any top level league in any country.
I'm looking at it there today, like, it's actually bad. Like, it's like you said, Mark. It's like an old hockey pitch.
That's what it's like. I mean, you look at that compared to the Bodo Glimt grass in that, Paul. I mean, see if Livingston want an artificial surface, that should be the Bodo Glimt kind of thing. That should be the standard that they're allowed to use. I mean, people going about kind of the way people see our leagues, how poor our league is, and we're a cowboy system set up and all that. People watching that down in England today must have been laughing at that. I mean, they must have said, look at the state of Scottish football, look at that pitch. That's all they need to say, and that it kind of does sum it up that a team's allowed into. I mean, Accies were the same, and I've got a soft spot for Accies, but their pitch was horrendous. They shouldn't have been allowed into the top league with that pitch.
Like, but like, Terence, today, like, we saw it over the course of the season that we struggled with teams sitting back, right? So obviously I think that Ange kind of launched something over the last couple of games that we played against these teams, that he needs to bring in a bit more physicality in the likes of Radisson, Beaton, like you said. He needs to play there. Do you think maybe Ange will do that going forward, going against these teams that sit back, that we have that bit of physicality coming into the team?
He very well could, Paul. I mean, I think he's going to be horses for courses. He's going to say, okay, we're playing this guy, we're playing these guys, and he's going to obviously look at the opposition and see what way they play. And like, we all knew what Livingston were going to do. It was going to be big, it was going to be physical. I mean, they were one or two of the corners that were there, free kicks. Their guys were like towering over our guys. Their team
they were big. Like, I think they're definitely the biggest in the league. I said, Terence. I said
looked like a rugby side. They were huge, like some of them. Like, as Mark said, the centre forward up front, and
I think their keeper was the smallest in the pitch. I said.
And their centre back who headed off the post, the guy with the kind of dreadlocks. I mean, they were standing beside our guys, and they was a couple of inches over our guys. So I mean, they were some big units. But I just want to say something as well. What Mark is saying is that I agree with Mark. That pitch is shocking. It's a disgrace. But what I would also say, Mark, is the difference between them and Bodo Glimt is Bodo Glimt are playing in the Arctic Circle. There's no reason that Livingston shouldn't have a grass pitch. Absolutely.
I totally agree with you on that, Terence. But is it no that it's no their pitches? It's no something like the council own it and their other teams use it and things like that. That's why they've got these artificial pitches. I know that's why Falkirk can do things like that, but I mean, even that Falkirk one was a hell of a lot better. See, with Mikey's charity game, that was a hell of a lot better than that thing Livingston have got. But I totally agree with what you're saying. There is really no need for it in our country.
And even James Forrest tripped. He tripped with no one beside him because he basically tripped over it, like, at one stage here. You know, it's just he nearly injured himself. It's shocking stuff. Like,
But Mark, even like considering like we always kind of struggle to play on this pitch. Like today, it was different. Like we actually controlled the whole game. Our passing was right. You know, like something clicked today between the Celtic team. What was it? The players that
I seen
they knew
some.
they had to win this, Mark? Or
I seen somebody on Twitter, Paul, saying that Ange had them away training on some plastic pitch the other
plastic
day.
pitch. Yeah, plastic pitch.
So I don't. Well, if that's help, so here's one for you. If that's helping to play against Livingston, why did they not take a chance to train in the Bodo Glimp Park?
But that's the problem, Mark, because they didn't. He refused to fly over there early to train on that pitch.
Which is a bit weird. Because most managers, they take the chance to get out and get a feel of the pitch that their team's going to be playing on in that the following night. So for him to refuse to, not refuse, for him not to take up a chance to do it with Bodo Glimp, but then he's got the players away playing on a plastic pitch during the week to get ready to play against Livingston.
Just having one thing you said there about Callum McGregor, why do you think he was kind of one of the off players today?
He just didn't have his normal 7 or 8 out of 10, which is normal. Just one of those days, Paul, like a bad day at the office, like we all have. You know what I mean? He obviously missed the penalty. He had a good chance for a header after that. He just didn't seem to be the same Callum McGregor. But then again, that carpet that he was playing on could have a lot to do with it.
But maybe he's the type of player that actually can't be playing. Like we always say, some of these Celtic players can't play on this kind of surface. Maybe he's one of those players that actually can play on this surface terms. You know.
I just think he just didn't. He just had a bit of a bad game, Paul. It was, and everyone else around him were flying it. So, you know, he's had an off day. How many times would Callum McGregor have an off day? Not two.
I think we can forgive him this one, after everything he's done over the years.
Just going on the penalty, like I think we'll all agree it was a bit harsh. You know, some people say it was done, but you kind of see the disadvantage when Jovanovic isn't in the team, that we actually don't really have another penalty taker at the class of Jovanovic at the moment in that thing, or you know.
I think maybe that's why McGregor, as captain, stepped up to take it. I think that's basically what it was, but I wouldn't be letting him step up too often in future, Paul.
Did he miss another one before?
Aye.
He did, didn't he?
He missed his last one as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Paul, I know McGregor stood up to take the penalty, but like, why are all the forwards on the pitch? The forwards are there to score goals. Surely if you're a forward, whether it's Jota or whether it's Maeda or whether it's whoever it might be, Rogic, any of these guys, surely God, one of them is confident enough to go, no, I'm happy enough to take it. To be fair, if McGregor had got it on target, the keeper would have saved it anyway. Because the keeper went the right way. You know what I mean? The keeper went the right way as well. But, you know, that's what I would say. Like, if you're a forward, your job is to score goals. So, like, there's no doubt if Giamakis was on that pitch, he'd have grabbed that ball. There's no doubt about it. He'd be, I'll take it, because he's that guy. He comes across as a extremely confident individual. The fact he missed one against them previous wouldn't have any.
I was just going to ask you that. Would you think that would kind of had an effect in terms of, would you think he's that type of player that he would have stepped up again?
He's that type of player. I'd say that miss is forgotten about. He doesn't even think about that. I'd say he's an extremely confident guy, and I'd say he'd go, if they said, "Look, would you take the penalty?" He'd be like, "Absolutely no problem," and he'd probably say, "Look, I'm going to bury this one." He comes across. He gives that vibe, Paul, that he's a very, very confident individual. You know, he played well today. To be fair, man, as well.
And Mark, I think looking as well, we were saying things about Rogic as well. We were saying like certain games we need him, and I think these type of games you need Tom Rogic. He showed that today, Mark. Like, he's able to hold up the ball, close control. He's able to hold it. He's getting us free kicks because they take him down. You know, these are the type of games that Rogic should be playing. But in more attacking games, when we have to play more freely, Rogic shouldn't be playing in those games, I think.
I don't know. Rogic is a weird one as well, Paul. He's another one that we spoke about him. I mean, he's been superb this season. He really has. Fair play to him, but he was off the boil there for a while. Everybody was getting on his back again, but he stepped up to the mark again today, and he was another player I thought had a good game, a really good game. The thing about it is, you could see even Jota trying to do things with the ball. They were working, but some of them weren't. Do you get what I mean? That, again, down to the pitch. And Rogic is, you could see that the same kind of thing. But again, on that surface, I thought Rogic was, it was really effective as well. I think a lot of the times Rogic, he gets a lot of the ball and doesn't really do much with it. Just kind of, he can sometimes be guilty. See these wee just side passes and that we moan about all the time. Rogic can be guilty of falling into that trap, and that's when he kind of looks like that kind of lazy kind of player that we all kind of gave dogs abuse to. But when Rogic is in the right mindset and that, he's proven, Paul, that he is worth a place in the team.
It's true what the Jab of Joy says. Like when Rogic is switched on, the Celtic team stack. They come alive, Mark. Around
that's what I'm saying, Paul. When Rogic is in the right frame of mind and on his game, he helps the full final third to take care and be more aggressive kind of thing, rather than these wee kind of passes, just passing it about. He'll try and get through me. So he tries to take on 2 and 3 men at a time. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it still does it. Whereas in other games he kind of shies away from doing it, and he doesn't offer much in the games.
And Terence, I was delighted for Mida as well today, because he was getting a lot of stick, lately, like saying he's not scoring goals, he's missing things, but he was in the right place at the right time today when the keeper made a save from the header.
He was, and it's where you want your striker to be, and there's a lot of very successful strikers who've only scored from inside the 6-yard box and made a great living out of it. So fair play to him. I was delighted to see him. I mean, the guy works his socks off. He never stops running, to be fair. He's non-stop. He must be a nightmare for a defender. And, as you said, he was there. He was in the right place, the right time. And he took the goal well, you know what I mean? He finished it well. And I think as well, one of the biggest factors for me today in the whole game, including the way Rogic played and the whole lot, and I said it here a few times, is speed. The speed Celtic played at today. It was so much quicker. The passing, the moving, everything was so much quicker than the last few games when it was really, really slow. And when you've got a guy like Rogic and you've got players running off him and he's in space and the ball is moved quickly, he's going to be good and he's going to hurt you. And I mean, that was glaringly obvious to me today. The speed and the pace that Celtic played at today, it was really, really good and really, really quick. And to a man, they Livingston couldn't live with them, in my opinion. Especially the first half, they couldn't get near them.
Because Mark, that's what we were always saying about this and your Celtic, like that. If they're on form, they'll be any team, And you saw that like we've struggled the last 2 times we played against Livingston. It was like back on the knee Lennon passing the ball side to side, passing it,
Yeah.
And we saw Celtic playing their game today, and we actually opened the Livingston defence up with the 2 goals. Even,
Paul, I think as well that we kind of showed a bit more physicality today as well. And I think Beaton probably added a lot into that aspect to it. Many times that I always say, Paul, we lose games because we seem to we get out-muscled. We get out-muscled in the midfield. And Livingston could have out-muscled us out of that park today, but the players were up for the fight. I mean, we're talking about many knocks, Taylor and that had got and things like that. Rogic there was a few digs in at Rogic, and they just got up and they got on with it and just battled back. We were kind of getting as good as we were getting.
So, you have to give that to Taylor, Mark. Like, this is not the first game now I saw Taylor getting a battering.
No, I think it's because he's a wee Paul and people think he's maybe a bit of a target for the physical side of the game, but he's as tough as a coffin nail.
Yeah, he gets up, Mark, and like I remember, was it the Rangers game? He stood up for one of the Celtic players. He went straight into the Rangers.
Whenever there's a bit of tear up, that Reece Taylor is one of the first ones in there.
Yeah, so he's well able to hold his own, Mark, and
that's that wee man syndrome like Mikey's got. They just don't fight anybody because I'm wee, but I'll still stick up for myself. But yeah, I mean, he really has showed that. And I think Paul, he wasn't like that when we first got him.
No.
Well, maybe he was. He had that kind of heart in him, but he didn't have the kind of size and strength to back up.
No,
I think Taylor's really. I'm not saying he's bulked up. He's looking bulked like a tank, but he's looking a lot stronger when he's got the ball, and even when he's going in for tackles and that, he's looking a lot stronger under hands than he has under the likes of Lennon and that.
And Mark, the advantage of this game, with Rangers winning yesterday, and like they put the pressure back on us. But the mindset of the Celtic players to win this game and shift it back onto Rangers now again. You know, like we didn't bulk under the pressure. We got the win. You know.
Sorry, Paul, what I was reading the live chat there.
The mindset now of the Celtic players, like with Rangers winning yesterday, the pressure was back on us. Like we didn't bulk at the game.
No,
we did our job. We came out. We won it. Like this is a huge advantage to Celtic here now today.
Paul, it's nobody. There's no a team in Scotland enjoys going to play Livingston in their own park, and it's a great result to go there. As I keep saying, it was one of the games I thought this could be a potential banana skin. I was more worried about the day than I'm going to Ibrox. And it's just the teams, just the way the mentality go there, with the pressure that they were on with them winning yesterday and everything, Paul. They've stepped up to the mark and showed that they've got the minerals for this title, to go and win this title. I will be, honestly, see after the day's game, Paul, I will be really, really disappointed if Celtic don't win the league this year.
Terence, you be kind of the same opinion as Mark, I suppose, after today.
It would, because I would have reckoned, Paul, that the other crowd would have been whooping and hollering so much that they beat Aberdeen, because I would have thought that they would have been expecting Celtic to drop points today. I'd say because of the way Celtic have struggled there over the last number of years, and the fact that they've got listen, it's as comfortable at 3 points as you're ever likely to see Celtic get off Livingston in the last couple of years. So I mean, it puts down a marker as well, look. You know, it really does put down a marker.
Exactly.
We're right here. You need to, keep producing the goods. As you said, the pressure is back on ye. Ye can't falter. We know you've been faltering, but we're not. We'll keep driving forward and keep driving forward and keep driving forward and taking off a win and taking off a win and taking off a win. And it's brilliant to just keep, as much as they might say them winning put the pressure on Celtic, as you said, they're trying to straight back at them. It's straight back at them to go, here you go, it's back in your court now. Now I know there's a cup competition the weekend or whatever.
Like the next 3 games in the league we have.
Yes, Stubbsy, they're a wee virtual hug to Stubbsy. He's feeling lonely in the live chat because we've not mentioned his name, Paul. Poor wee Sybil.
He says Paul is a stud muffin there, so thanks very much.
That's him trying to get a shout out, I think.
I'll post something, Stubbsy, and I'll read it out. Like the next 3 games in the league, Mark, like this is just like we've done the United next weekend in the Scottish Cup, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But we have Ross County on the 19th of March. We have Rangers on 3rd of April, at 12 o'clock, and then the 9th of April we have St. Johnstone. Like, you know, like if we continue winning, and if we beat Denmark, it could be nearly game over for Rangers at that stage.
If we go to Ibrox and beat them, Paul, that's it. It really is. I mean, that'll be the gap up to.
Like 8 games left now, I think, Terence. Is it in the league? 8 games?
8 games left, yeah. If Celtic win the next 3, as Mark said there, Paul, the Ross County against them and then St. Johnstone, you know, that's going to be a 6 point.
And let's be quite honest as well, we could actually afford to go to Ibrox and draw, Terence, couldn't we?
Oh, you take that, Mark. I'd like, if someone said to me, would you take beating Ross County, beating St. Johnstone and draw at Rangers, you'd go, yeah, 100%. Because the bottom line is they're still behind. They're still behind in points, and they're 10 or 11 goals behind in goal difference. You know? So,
that's as good as another point, really, isn't it, when you're getting to this end of the season. But I still think we'll win the next 3 games, Paul. I honestly do. I mean, that Rangers team, it's just, I don't know how they're getting these results, to be honest, Paul, but they're absolutely honking, so they are. Even their own fans are saying they're honking.
Yeah, you were saying that there yesterday on their banter page, Mark, that they were giving out stick at the Aberdeen game, and they were giving out stick with the St. Johnstone game at the weekend as well. You know?
Even when they're winning, Paul, they're still moaning about the way they're winning.
Aberdeen missed Scott Brown yesterday, Mark. Right? I heard is there something behind the scenes there with Scott Brown since Goodwin came in that I heard? Did you hear that?
Sorry, but him and
That
Goodwin had fell out.
yeah, that himself and Goodwin had fallen
I've
out.
seen some like rumours and that flying about it, Paul. But well, you don't know. But you'd think that one of the first names in your team sheet into going to Ibrox would be Scott Brown.
Like I don't think how
He wasn't even in the bench, was he? No.
No, I don't think how a team like Aberdeen, Mark, can afford to keep a player like they're down the bottom. They're third bottom from the league. I don't think they'll go down. Like, but if they
But
need
Aberdeen
points,
shouldn't be down there.
they need a player like Scott Brown, Mark, in their team, don't they? You know.
Well, I would think so, Paul. I mean, it's don't even one of these things. It's what is it they call it, like horses for courses. There's not much in the game Scott Brown hasn't done. So you would think that he would be like, as I said, you're going to Ibrox, so you're one of your best players in your team. And Aberdeen, the drive in that is Scott Brown. He's still one of their best players, really. It was a really strange one when I saw that he wasn't playing.
And you have to think as well with this, Terence, like on the Thursday before Celtic play Rangers. Rangers are travelling in the Europa League.
Oh yeah, listen, all the last two games they had in the Europa League, the two games against Dortmund, both following games after that were draws. They dropped points both ways. The fact is Celtic will have time to rest, time to recover, and then hopefully, ideally batter them, and then they can have every excuse under the sun. We had to do this and we had to do that, and ideally Red Star Belgrade batter them as well. And they'll just put them to bed and they can shut up then.
But I imagine that's going to be a right big, tough, kind of physical team, Red Star Belgrade. And you can imagine, I mean, just be...
Take a beat, like all these Eastern European teams they're all big physical teams, Mark. I mean, like, that's going to take a lot out of Rangers players, and like we've seen that in the past, Mark, when we played in Europe, and when you're traveling, you come back, like we've dropped points on the Neil Lennon, we've dropped points on the Brendan Rodgers when we came back from Europe, you know.
Oh, big team, Paul. See, the years, big teams do it all the time, Paul. See, years ago, I used to win. See, on Coutums, Paul, I always bet Man United to draw or lose. See, whoever to like Kingway after a European game, because Man United struggled after European games for years. It was like a banker bet kind of thing.
Celtic were the same this season, Paul. They lost one or two games after coming back from either Europa League or Champions League qualifiers. I think I know after the Michelin game, they lost the next league game. So it's certainly in the system there. Like, you know what I mean? You're doing that little bit of travel. I know it's not huge travel, but you're doing a bit of travel and you're playing a game, so you're not as much rest and recovery. But yeah, it certainly takes its toll eventually. Like.
Of course, like, next week we're travelling to Tyneside, and we're taking on Dundee United in the Scottish Cup quarter-finals.
Tyneside, no Newcastle.
Sorry, Mark, what is this? What's it called?
I don't know. Tyneside's Newcastle, but is it no?
What's their stadium called again?
Tannadice.
Tannadice, yeah. I was close. But Mark,
no, because I think Dundee's called Tayside, I think, Paul. Now look, we've got like you're for Cork kind of thing. I think it's Tayside because there's a River Tay or something up there in Dundee. I thought that's what you get mixed up there. I'll keep you right. Don't worry, I'll keep you right.
We were supposed to have Jonas on us tonight, Mark, and I was going to ask Jonas this question, but I'd put it to you, like Dundee United, Mark. I don't think they're too excited, Mark, the way Tom Coates has been playing so far this season.
I'm getting dirty looks for pulling you up out of that.
Yeah, they're getting. They played 30. They won 9. They drew 9. They lost 12, and they're only 36 points. I would have thought, speaking to Jonas on the podcast with Mark, that he would have expected a lot more from Dundee United this season because of what we saw of them as well, Mark, when they attacked us at Celtic Park at the start of the season.
I think, well, just for going for what Mikey was saying when I was talking to him, I said to you, Paul, Jonas, not just Jonas, Dundee United fans just are not happy with what's going on under that Coots guy. I mean, I was looking at it as well, Paul, they've only won one of the last 5 games, is it, in the league? And again, Dundee United's a team that should be up there challenging for your... Dundee United should be one of the teams that's challenging for 3rd place, Paul. You know what I mean? It's like Aberdeen are away down at the bottom. That's just no good enough for a club at that kind of standard. I don't know. I mean, I'm confident Celtic will go to Tannadice and get the win. Don't think there's any kind of doubts about that. But he says it would be interesting. We'll try and get Jonas on even maybe during the week or that, Paul, because we've not got anything to talk about for a show during the week now, have we? With any games?
The only thing with Dundee United, and is their big loss for Denmark, I think, is since Fuchs left, their midfield, I think, has been weakened, and that's an advantage, I think, for Celtic as well, because he has controlled the midfield.
He was man of the match at Celtic Park for me, Paul. I've spoke about it, lad. I spoke about my lope with Mikey and Jonas and that, and I was really impressed with Fuchs. And you're not going to lose a player of that calibre, Paul, and it'll no have a detrimental effect on your team. So I think what you're probably saying is right. That's been a massive loss to them. Who was it he went to? It was
Peterborough.
I
think it was Peterborough.
I wouldn't have minded Celtic taking a punt on him. I really wouldn't have.
Like, I would have thought he would have went for, like, to be honest, like a Peterborough that much bigger than Dundee United, Mark. Do you know what I mean? You know?
Nah.
Financially, they probably are.
No, I get that's what it'll probably be. I mean, even down to the fact, Paul, what I'm saying, where Dundee United should be in the league, or where they would expect to be, and where their fans expect to be, they should be pushing for a Europa League spot. And well, he's not going to play in the Europa League or anything like that for Peterborough, is he?
So, and look, Terence, it's a cup game. Anything can happen in these cup games. Like, are you confident, like Mark? Like, you confident that Celtic will go out and get to one? Is the actual treble on for Celtic this season?
I would just take it as a game at a time, Paul. I mean, it's a cup game. If Celtic play the way we know Celtic can play, and put in a performance like they did today, there won't be an issue. If Celtic put in a performance like they did against Hibs, there could be. And you have to remember, Dundee United will be well aware that they're probably safe for the season. They're probably not good. They're probably going to struggle to get a European spot. So this might be their only chance of kind of getting somewhere or going somewhere. You know what I mean? So this will be a huge game for them. But if Celtic turn up and play, as I keep saying it, high tempo, high passing, high movement, high accuracy, everything like they did today, Dundee United won't be able to live with them, and Celtic will win. If they turn up like they did against Hibs or one or two of the other games, then all of a sudden you allow Dundee United into the game and allow them to play at a pace that they want, and not the pace Celtic wants to. You know, so Celtic shouldn't have a problem as long as they play the way they can.
Because, Mark, I remember we had John United Ireland on with us, and he said it, Mark, at the start of the season when Celtic started getting the rhythm back on the Ange, the treble was on.
I think John seen it as soon as Ange came in, did they know? But, Paul, you're saying it's a treble on for Celtic, Paul. There's one thing, it's the only team in Scotland that it is on for. We're the only team that can do it, and really, I don't see any. It'll take a lot of hard work, a lot of good performances, and a wee pinch of luck as well, Paul. But I don't see why no.
Another thing too that has been bugging me, and I saw a few things there on the live chat today, and I was looking through it, Mark. Is has there been issue with Julian at Celtic?
Oh, there's some rumours that they kind of spat the dummy out, Paul. I don't know whether it's because he feels he's fit and should be getting game time, or whether he's just decided he doesn't want to be there anymore. But there is some rumours that Julian's not too happy there. Which, see, boys, Paul, I'm fine with that. If Julian wants to leave, let him leave.
Because, Mark,
bring that young boy but is it Boston Level you pronounce it, Paul?
Oh, yeah.
Promote him up. I've seen Tom Boyd raving about him, and I was saying, we were talking about him, Paul. You knew a lot about him before he even came, sir. And you were raving about him, sir. If Tom Boyd's raving about him yesterday and that, sir, I don't see why no. I mean, at least he's going to be fit. At least he's going to be fit.
Like before, for me, next season, I would prefer to have, if we got Cameron Vickers signed up, right, and we had that, I'll sell Julian, and I'll promote Bosman Law to that first team, because one, Bosman Law will go in for tackles that Julian won't go in for. He's more physical than him, and this lad his years, like Terence, you probably saw him play with the Irish youths and stuff like that. This fella's years above his age mark. You know what I mean? This fella's, you know.
Aye, but as you said, Paul, if Carter Vickers signs up, I'd be quite happy. I mean, we're getting to the crunch with Julian, because either come this summer, he's only got a year left in his contract. So we either sell him or we give him a new contract. And I know what one I would prefer we actually done.
I would, Mark. Like I think it all depends.
People are going on as if he's like Nemanja Vidic reincarnated, Paul, as if he's this great big defender. And you're like,
I saw Best Thing and on Twitter today about Julian. Julian has become a better player than he actually is since he's injured.
I think Kev said that on the live chat as well.
Yeah,
aye,
become a better player.
People seem to forget what he was actually like and how soft he was. And I'll put it to you this way: we were talking. Terence was talking about how well he thought Starfield played today. You wouldn't have get that kind of performance with Julian against a team like Livingston.
How many times Terence has Julian struggled against these big physical teams? I remember, was it the fella Dykes used to tear him apart?
Dykes destroyed him. He did the same against Kilmarnock. I don't know what the lad was up front, but he was a big unit. He came on the same thing. But look, it's very unusual, to be fair, that a French guy spits the dummy out. Like, you know what I mean? They normally wouldn't be temperamental at all. Like, you know what I mean? It's very unusual. That's sarcasm, by the way. He's like the rest of them. They all spit the dummy out, and they all look. If Julian is out for 14 months, and he actually genuinely is looking at two guys playing centre back, and thinks I should be playing, then that in itself says a lot about the guy. He can't be a squad man, Paul, if he's a team player. If he thinks I should be playing, I'm not playing. I'm spitting the dummy out.
Exactly.
Throw my toys out of the car.
Well, I am saying Julian is better than Starfield. No chance. Well, no way. I'm not wearing that. No way in the world.
It's like, sorry, Paul. It's like what you said there a minute ago, and Kevin said. Like Julian before he went, everyone was like, oh, he can't fake the physicality. Julian is out now, and he's the next Maldini. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it's short memories. Like, this guy struggled beyond all belief to a big, physical, robust person, centre forward against him, and he was like, I'm out of here. I don't want anything to do with this. Like, you know what I mean?
Because we have, like, you think of it, right? We've two lads down in the B League, and we've won in Bosman Law, who I think is going to be, if he gets into Celtic team next season, and if he plays well, there's going to be top teams chasing him, because Chelsea were after him. Manchester United were looking at him. Like, there was a lot of teams down in, but because his family were Irish and he was a Celtic fan, he wanted to come to Celtic. Like, and we've another lad in Dane Murray, who for me is another fight. We saw him playing against Midtjylland, and he was thrown in to the deep end there, Mark. Like, we've two decent centre backs that if we're going to have Julian, who's not going to be playing, he's going to. It's going back to what we said to start the season, Mark. He's taken up the progress of these two young players. If he's going to be sitting on the bench when we could be progressing these players under Ange.
Aye, I don't see Julian having any future at Celtic. I really don't. Even down to the fact, Paul, that's since into March. Ange's never seen this guy kick a ball in anger.
Yeah.
And we've got 3 months to make a decision whether we're offering him a new contract. That's basically the point we're at right here now. No, even 3 months.
What George says here, Mark, it's like we've done without Julian over season, and I don't see him getting in much game time. with what we have at the moment, give the young lad a place in the first team squad next year. Like that's
And
it.
Paul,
Like
even even if Julian had get fit, saying
Welch is above him now, Mark.
for me, that's exactly what I was going to say, Paul. Even if he'd get fit back in like November or December, for me, the job for Julian isn't to get into the first team. It's to become the main kind of back, as you say, replace Welsh in the squad. Because there's no way, there was just no way in the world that Ange was going to break up the Carter Vickers and Starfelt partnership like on a consistent basis. He's done it for the odd game here and there, but when the games matter, it's Starfelt and Carter Vickers,
and you can see it, Mark,
and that's two guys. That's
chemistry between the two of them.
The partnership they've built up, Paul. But that's two guys that Ange wanted to sign. So obviously that's just who he. Do you get what I mean? He's, as I said there, Paul. He's not seen Julian kick a ball in anger, so he's not got to. So it's up to Julian to play his way into Ange's plans, and he's only got a matter of months to do it. And I just don't see him.
It's a big difference, Mark, in playing training when there's no kind of tough tackles or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like imagine if we actually threw Julian into that game today. Like, I think he would have struggled against that Livingston team today.
Between the pitch and the size of their players in that, Paul, I don't think he would have got a decent performance out of him today.
I don't understand what Subsy tried to say to me here. What next, Paul? The Scots are tight? What's that, Mark?
I don't know. Is that no him and the jabber a job he's flirting again?
I don't.
Keep that kind of shenanigans to yourself, Stubbsy, man.
You have to remember, Julian clearly isn't producing the goods in training either.
Of course,
because if he was producing the goods in training, and he was bursting a gut, and he was, in a sense, flying into tackles and really impressing Ange, he'd have given him a go, because Ange has given everyone a try.
Mm-hmm.
He's given James McCarthy goes to see if he can do it. He's given Michael Johnson goes. He's given everyone a chance that's pretty much in that squad to go. Like, even look, he brought on young Dembele last week. He said he was going to do it. He brought him on. If Julian was in training and he was producing the goods in training and he was really trying and really putting in an effort, I'm sure Ange, maybe not today, but in other games, I'm sure Ange would have probably gone, you know what? I'm going to try give him 20 minutes there. I'm going to try get him into. I'm going to try to, like, the fact that the guy hasn't even been on the bench in the last whatever 2 games.
Terence, that's a strange one, isn't it? Like that something is happening that he's not on the bench either. Like, isn't it?
The reason he's not on the bench, Paul, is because Ange doesn't basically take the fools too lightly, and he's always listen. I can't be arsed with your attitude. You can't be arsed doing what I want you to do. I have a ton of young lads that are willing to run through a wall to get into your position. You know what? You go over there with the rest of the money, French fucker, and we'll go over here. And end of the season, you can toddle off to wherever you want to go, because Ange does not strike you as a guy, Paul, that will take that from anyone.
No.
And I mean, if Julian wants to behave like that, albeit let him behave like that, and good luck to him, let him head for the hills in the season, because he's of no benefit to Celtic.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what game it was, Paul. Brian mentioned that the Race Cup game, Julian's face was tripping him.
What's that, Mark? Sorry?
Brian says in the live chat, I was trying to think what game it was. There, Brian said that I said at the race game, Julian's face was fuming, not meditating. I think he was told he would be playing then, didn't, and he's took the huff since. I was trying to think of that. There was before a game I can make, and he did.
Aye. He was at the front of the. They were saying that it was Chris Sutton said. I think it was one of the lads was saying that he should have given Julian a run today to see how fit he is. To see, and then Chris Sutton came up and said, "But what has Julian done to justify to get into the team today? Do you know what I mean? This is a fella who's been out for nearly a year and a half, Mark. You know what I mean? What has he done to get into Ange's plans? You know?"
Paul, he's been back around the first team, Paul, and then he was in the squad for a couple of games, and then he was out again. Mind you, he picked up a knock again, and then he get back on the bench for a couple of weeks, and then he just fell off the planet. It's obviously something no right behind the scenes, because if he's no fit, fair dues, he's out injured again. But if he is fit, why is he not getting even a place on the bench? Terence says he must not be showing in training that Maybe he can't play the way Ange wants him to play.
William was saying it's Gucci. We need to start seeing playing like.
Oh, don't start him on that. I was waiting in your ranting about Beaton starting the day no Gucci. I'll be honest with you.
No, Mark, I said it. It doesn't matter who plays there, if it's Beaton or Gucci. You know, I said McGregor can't play that role.
But I keep saying back to you, Paul, I don't think Beaton can play the role that Ange wants that position to play.
Mm-hmm.
Get what I mean? That kind of deep line playmaker role. I mean, I keep saying it. See, your central defensive midfielder, whatever you want to call it. Beaton's a cracking player. He's really, and I've seen it, even when he was getting stick with Celtic fans and that, Paul, we were playing him at centre half. And as soon as he's moved back into his natural position, he's been like a new signing again this season, Paul, to be honest.
Who was it, Mark, that put him? Was it Rodgers?
I think it was Rodgers. I think it was Rodgers, but I mean, he'd done it. I think he'd done it all his career, Paul. There's a difference between, like, if Starfelt gets injured today, you get what I mean? We can't get the right sub made. Beaton could drop back to centre half and see out a game or cover the odd game. But for a few years there, he just seemed to be changed. Like now he's a centre back, and he never was.
No, and he's getting stick then off us, Mark.
And you see him now. He's moving. He's playing his main position, his first choice position. And you can see, as I said, Paul, he's playing that well. It's like a new signing again to the Beaton we've been used to seeing the last 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. But I still think the way Ange wants to play the game, Beaton's no got that kind of passing ability for that kind of anchor role, the deep line role, Paul. But I mean, in certain games, like the day, it was effective. We won the game 3-1. So maybe in certain games, Beaton's got a job today.
Mm-hmm. Can you see many changes, Terence? Can you see the likes of Abada, Gia Marcus and stuff coming into the team next week? And
it's hard to know, Paul, because the way Ed sets up his team, like, I mean, no one will realistically pick that team today. You know what I mean?
That was out of the blue. Like, that lineup today was just out of the blue.
But you would imagine he would revert and maybe go a bit more. A few different bodies and change him in and out a little bit, like what Mark was saying there, because I think he's the Beaton one in particular. It's nearly like, as the lads would describe Livingston, like hammer throwers. It's basically like if you've got a team that's going to be playing a lot of long balls, a lot of high stuff, Beaton's probably your guy to beat her rather than McGregor. But I think if you're going to be playing a team like maybe say a Hearts or these other teams that are will attack Celtic a bit more on the ground, maybe it's more of a McGregor because it's more of a free flowing game.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine, Paul, that he'd probably make a few changes. I mean, it's going to be harsh. It's going to be harsh on whoever doesn't play. Whether if say Juranovic comes in and Ralston or Taylor aren't playing, you know, I mean, if Beaton drops out, McGregor comes in. You know, you don't know. I mean, you could probably see Giamakis come back in, but he may not make that many changes, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's a great luxury to have that we've gone from being able to nearly pick the first 11 a couple of months ago to basically guessing it, because you just don't know, like.
And we have got a plan B now, Paul.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? Between Maeda and Giamakis. I think they're going to maybe rely on other players to score the goals, kind of thing. But his movement in that, I mean, his movement today in that was brilliant again, and I'm glad that he get the goal, because it was a kind of bit of an albatross getting round him. He was playing up front, he wasn't really getting any goals, and we spoke about it the other night. It was decent chances, and he wasn't even make like half take to making even a decent fist to half of them. But it's good to have the different options, Paul. And that for me, we've got a plan A and a plan B now. That's somebody who was it there now, Paul. That's somebody put up there. Next season will be Beaton's 10th in the hoops.
10 years in the hoops. Like that's some.
And Stubbsy says is he having 150th party.
I think this is his most consistent season with Celtic because of no injuries and stuff like that. Like he's really, stepped up to Ireland as well.
He's shaked off this kind of utility man tag, Paul. He would just slot in whenever he was needed, and that can be good with players, but it can also be a bit of a hindrance with players. But I think Ange's looked at Beaton and said, "This playing you at centre back's that's a no-go for you, and that's just, do you get what I mean?" And he's transformed himself as much as Rogic. We've raved about the transformation of Rogic this season, but really for Beaton, Beaton's up there. Beaton, Ralston and Rogic, Paul, there've been like 3 new signings, and it's 3 players that not one has given. When we were speaking in the summer, Paul, really, it was 3 of the players, not one is on here gave any chance.
No.
We would have happily seen the 3 of them kind of go.
I mean, even was forced into this match.
Ralston, and listen, remember, Ralston only got a year's contract basically because we didn't have anybody else by the looks of it. And then he played that well that he's gave him a new 4 or 5 year deal.
I tell you, Julian could do a lot worse than look at those 3 lads and have a serious long look at himself. If you look at 3 lads like Beaton, Alston and Rogic, who basically people would have said, no, ship them out, get rid of them. And if you look at the way, like Beaton, who's in the team today, he had a cracking game. If he's not on the team next week, that could be any issue. He'd be on the bench. If he has to come on for 20 minutes, he'll come on for 20 minutes, do what he has to do.
So tell us, when did you said that Gianmarco stayed back during the winter break himself to work on his fitness, to get himself ready? I mean, this is what Julian should be looking at. Do you know what I mean? And if he wants to get in the team, put in this extra bit of commitment.
And that's it, Paul. It's no coincidence that, like, you have certain individuals in the Celtic setup, and they're busting a gut. Like, you watch, as I said, Maeda, he'll never stop running. No. He mightn't get the service, but he'll never stop running. Giamakis will never. He runs all day since he came back. Do you know what? So attitude has a lot to do with it, Paul. Sometimes you can be on a team with the most talented guys in the world, but if they're lazy, it doesn't matter two jots. Whereas if you've got a fella beside you that might have half his talent but works 10 times harder than he does, you'd want him in the trenches all day. But like, who would you want in the trenches? Would you want Ralston in the trenches, or would you want Julian? I know who I'd want.
Exactly. So, like, I have a big issue at the moment with Jovanovic and Ralston. I'm torn between the 2 of them. You know, like, at the moment, people are saying, "Oh, Jovanovic is miles ahead of him." But when you watch the game, Mark, and you spot it today, like, you see the difference in what Ralston actually brings to the team than what Jovanovic would bring. You know, he like, I never expected Ralston to be a player, Mark, who would bomb down that white ring and provide crosses to the Celtic forwards. You know, like, and it's just. And his physique as well, Mark. Like, I think Celtic definitely lose something when Ralston's not playing. You know.
Oh, I agree with you, Paul. I really do. And I mean, it's a good problem to have, Paul. But having the choices, Ralston or Juranovic in there. But I think Ange's a type of manager, Paul, that he knows how long seasons are, kind of thing. The amount of games. I mean, That's Ange managed for 50 games, Paul. That's more than Lou Macari and Liam Brady, I'm sure.
And this is a man who people said be gone by Christmas.
Aye, but I mean, when I read that, I thought that's kind of weird. Because when you think back to these times, you thought Macari and Brady were there for a wee while, kind of thing. It doesn't feel. Ange's only there not even 3/4 of a season, and he's already managed for 50 games.
Mhm. You know, like,
I lost my train of thought there a bit.
But man, what he's done, like.
That was hit to inside the squad, Paul. So
yeah.
I think that's more a case he'll just take it by a game-to-game basis and who he thinks is going to be most effective in that game. Agreeing with our fitness and that stuff. I think that's the way he'll go. It looks as if he wants 2 players for every position. Look at the amount of midfielders we've got, Paul. And we play enough games to keep all these players happy with their game time.
It was key that was key as well today as well, Terence, to keep up the tempo today against Livingston. He made the changes, and he made the right changes early again today, didn't he?
He did, yeah, and he brought on fresh legs, very similar to the guys he was taking off And you see there's the same energy, there's the same drive, there's the same determination from these guys that are coming on, and it's keeping the tempo and it's keeping the pressure on Livingston. And it's like Mark said, he's looking to try and get two guys in every position as much as you can, because next week it could be Juranovic at right back, and he'll he'll give you everything the same way we've got Ralston on this right back. You know what he's going to give you. So I mean, probably the only downside for Ralston is that, only my opinion, is technically, obviously Juranovic would be technically a much better footballer than him. You know what I mean? I agree that Ralston probably goes down the wing better and gets in the crosses, but as a footballer and technically and all that, obviously I think Juranovic would be better than him. But I mean, as a squad, there's a lot of good quality players there, and maybe in one or two areas they just need to strengthen. I think they need to strengthen in the left back position in particular. But generally speaking, there's a lot of guys that can one come on, one come off, and there's very little difference between them. You know what I mean? So he's done a miraculous job. Like,
imagine you were one of the Livingston players a day. You've been ran ragged so far, and you look across to see the sub Celtic's bringing on.
Yeah, Abada, O'Reilly, Giamarcus. Like, but Mark, that's what I couldn't get there now. Like, like we saw in a few games, and Terence highlighted as well, like in the Motherwell game, we saw Ange keep the tempo up. He made the changes. But then in the Hibs game, he only brought on one sub, and that was O'Reilly. Do you know what I mean? Like in some matches, he's willing to use the bench, and he uses it wisely. But other matches, then, and the one that springs to mind is the Hibs game, when we could see clearly that we were tired in that game, and he only made one sub.
The Hibs game was a weird one, Paul. Even just throw the dice, have a roll of the dice and see what happens. But in the last couple of games, his changes they've been the difference in the game. Aye.
They really
I mean, he's still learning it. You've got into it.
That's the biggest thing. Once he learns from that mistake, Paul, and he sees that, okay, look, I did make a mistake when he bringing on one. I can bring on 5 now. If I want to bring on 3, and then I'm going to bring on 1, and then I'm going to bring on 1. Since that game, he's done it. He's made the changes. So if he learns from that mistake, then that's what you want. But you don't want to do the same thing all the time.
Especially times when, like what you're saying there, like, we have the squad now to use. Like, you know what I mean? We have the players to come on and make the change. Like, and Ange needs to be doing that. And it always seems to be around the 60 mark, 65th mark. And maybe that's when the fresh legs do need to come on to keep the pressure on the teams,
And it just as well, Paul, see when the subs were coming on, did you notice who was giving them their instructions?
Parker.
Gavin Strachan.
Oh yeah, sorry, Gavin. Where did I get Parker?
No,
I was actually.
He does look a bit like him, didn't he?
I was. No, I was reading about him today, and he actually wants to get into to management. Parker himself.
Good luck to him.
He actually does.
But right away, I thought I might need to mention that to Paul. Do you know what I mean? Just under Lennon, it was just Gavin Strachan was just sitting there playing Candy Crush, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, but like you see, Mark, like when he did it, like every player.
They all were.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what top clubs do, Mark. Is the coach gives them the instructions. They tell him what to do. He shows them the positioning, and then before they go on, Ange then will give him the little pep talk. Do you know what I mean? A bit of the extra bit of booster.
He's leaving it to the guy that's actually sitting crunching the numbers. Angelo obviously have his own ideas about what's needing changed on the part, but he'll discuss that with Gavin Strachan and Kennedy. But it's Strachan that's actually saying, right, we've been most effective getting up this kind of, do you know what I mean, playing this up to their whatever position we're kind of focusing on. And so he's crunching the numbers, so he knows. It was just weird that Lennon didn't buy into it at all. It really was, Paul.
Do you know what, Mark? The thing that gets me was when we signed Gavin Strachan, Lennon said that he was part of the recruiting process to bring him in. But I heard differently. I heard it was actually Kennedy who wanted Strachan, and it wasn't Lennon, and that caused the rift between Lennon and Kennedy.
He wanted
to bring in.
Tommy Johnson.
We won't be that time. Lennon
He wanted
did
to bring
one.
in Tommy Johnson, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah,
was
Tommy
Tommy
Johnson.
Johnson, was he not coming in as like a director of
Director,
football or something?
director
Not
of
that.
football. No, he wanted to bring. There was talks of Mjolby coming back that time.
But I mean, Gavin Stratton, I said when we signed him, Paul, it's not a kind of thing that we really, I mean, really, none of us really understand what he's actually sitting doing. To really understand that, you'd be sitting doing it yourself and getting paid for it, Paul. That's how all these guys on Twitter, mind that map thing I sent you the other day, Paul, that's mind the Strat thing the boy had made up. You couldn't make head nor tail of what even the point of the stats was, let alone try and understand them. But Gavin Stratton was well respected, and he could have probably, when he was available, he could have probably went to any other team, kind of thing.
Look! Wasn't there a team recently that wanted him as their manager down the south?
Aye, there was, aye.
Yeah,
Not that long ago, and just
and he turned it down. He says no, he's happy what he's doing. He's doing what he always wanted to do with a top club. This is why.
I mean, maybe he's getting the ambition to be a manager. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he's quite happy sitting there crunching the numbers and plotting behind the scenes kind of idea.
Mm-hmm.
But as well too, Ange obviously has a lot of confidence in him, because he just goes, your role is this, you do this. And if you looked at the three players he was talking to, all were focused on him and what he was showing them. And just when I remember the image, and it's just so different. I don't know if you ever can remember the last time I saw something, whereas when Lee Griffiths was coming on for Celtic and Strachan was talking to him, and Lee Griffiths spent the entire time down tying his laces and pulling up his socks and never once looked at him. Once looked at Strachan. This was obviously under Lennon. He never once looked at Strachan. He spent the entire time down, bending down, pulling up his socks, fixing his laces, fixing everything. And I just thought to myself, like, what chances the guy have? Whereas you watch these three guys today coming on, every one of them were clued into exactly. He was showing them where to go, what they wanted them to do, and every one of them were just focused on him. Like,
you could even see Gio Kamakis actually like, asking him again.
Yeah,
if you could see his eyes pointing back as if he maybe didn't quite understand it and things like that.
Yeah, it's great to see. Like,
is when I am trying to get a reaction off me in the podcast tonight, saying Kennedy should have went with Len. Is he trying to wind me up tonight or what? And Mark, this is something that we said in a few kind of cup matches and stuff like that before. And does he actually have confidence in this player? And I'm going to put it, like, should he rest Joe Hart in this cup game, or should he stick with Joe Hart, or should he give Bain a run?
Just stick with Joe Hart.
Stick with Joe Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Goalkeeper. See, if you're going to play goalkeepers in the cup games, Paul, you'd have already played them in.
Yeah.
Alloa, wouldn't it be played? So.
And Race Rovers as well. Like, you'd have played him in that game as well. Like.
It's not really saying a lot though of Bain terms, though, is it?
It's not, because realistically, he's there in the event that Joe Hart does get injured. That's pretty much the only way he's going to get a game. So obviously, touch wood, Joe Hart doesn't get injured. Other than that, Bain is just going to be sitting on the bench until Celtic decide themselves that, you know what, we need a stronger number two. Now, I know Bain has signed a new contract, so maybe they think they're happy with him. I would personally myself like to see them go for someone else that they can, if there's a situation arises that they can put another keeper in. Like, I know the Dundee United keeper, but I don't think he'd come and sit on the bench. But I certainly think, like, your man today for Livingston is a fine keeper, and as well too, I think the Motherwell keeper is a fine keeper at that level. Do you know what I mean? That you might get a guy to come like that and be a number two. I don't think you get Seagrass to come and be a number two.
Out of the three of them, though, Terence, Bain is about the best of them, isn't he? Between himself, Hazard and Barkers.
He is, but like, that's like saying who's the tallest and the seven the worst. You know what I mean? It's you know what I mean? It's pointless. Like, you know what I mean?
Where do you come up with these things?
It doesn't really make any difference. You know what I mean? Like.
I like that one, Terence. I like that one, too.
I tell you, I do the puzzle. What was the one I never heard of there last week? And I was in stitches at it.
As mad as a box of frogs.
Oh my God, that's Jesus Christ! Like, where the heck do you come out of? I'm like, I tell you,
Like, you know what I mean?
I think definitely watch this. The young lad Toby could get game time next season. I say.
Well, you'd like to see one of them, Paul, one of the young lads. If they feel that they're good enough, then you'd hope that they'd get a crack. Like in certainly, like say the League Cup, if they're playing, if they the early round of the League Cup and they're not against a bigger side, that you throw him in and see what he can do. You know what I mean? Because eventually you have to see if they're good enough. There's no point guessing unless they won't know unless they play.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll see. And if he's good enough, you'll see it. And if he's not, you'll see it as well, you know? And that's the only way you're going to have to learn.
There's another thing too I wanted to talk to yourselves about. He's been playing in the last two Colts games recently, is young Dembele. You sent me something there, John, the week about him and Ange and what Ange kind of said of him. What was that again? Just refresh the lads on the live chat.
I can't mind, Paul.
I have to say, you were saying
I sent you that much stuff. And you sent me as well. All day we're on it, but I can't mind, to be honest.
I think it was like that he's spoken to him. He told him basically what he expects of him and what kind of opportunities he can give him. But I told him as well, like, look, I'm not going to convince you to stay at Celtic. If you want to stay with Celtic, it's up to you. I'm just telling you what opportunities I can give you here. You know, so basically, the ball is actually in Dembele's.
I think it's maybe going to come down to whether Dembele buys into Ange's plans for him, basically, Paul. I mean, as I said the other night, Paul, maybe a year ago, if he was fully fit and things like that, there've been some of the biggest clubs in the world would be queuing round the block to try and sign Dembele, but is he going to have as many options, even as a free? I mean, he's out of contract in the summer again, so I don't think he'll maybe get... He'll probably become richer and move away from Celtic. Do you get what I mean? Because some club down in England will take a chance of things like that, but you'd like to think that Ange can talk him. No, you're saying he's not talking, but you'd like to think Ange could convince him that he futures at Celtic. That's the best place for him now.
I think it's just a bit concerning like that, himself and even young lad Ben Dugmark, they kind of haven't signed a contract yet. I think, for me anyway, I think Ben Doug's head is already turned anyway, Mark, I think.
It's starting to look like it, isn't it?
Yeah, especially that he's not in around the first team anymore either. I think Ange just gave him, at that stage, I think Ange told him, maybe, look, I'll give you a taste of the first team. You've been around the first team squad. I'll give you game time. Like this is a great commitment, and gave him Mark to throw him on in the Rangers game and throw him on in a Hearts game and take off James Forrest. You know what I mean? Like, what else do you need from a manager, Mark? Do you get me?
No, he did. He showed a lot of faith in him. And again, maybe you don't know what's going on behind the scenes, Paul, but again, young players, it's a big decision for them to make, Paul. Do they go for the money? Do they go... I mean, young Ben Doak, I mean, if he goes to Liverpool, when's he got, realistically, when's he going to get a chance in the Liverpool team?
Like 16 years of age, Mark, he's not going to get a chance there till at least another 2-3 years.
Exactly. Exactly.
But you did say, in fairness, Mark, you did say about that young lad as well, that he was kind of the main breadwinner there. I remember one day we were talking about it. I think you said it.
Was the same with Farouz, really, wasn't it?
You were saying about your man Doak, is it, or the young lad Ben Doak or something, that he was like the main breadwinner in the house or something, and for him to move and get huge money would make him a big difference to himself and his whole family. So you could understand if that was the reason that he was going.
Yeah, you can't fault. I mean, we sit here and we're like, obviously Dembele, that'd be terrible if he walked out in Celtic after that, blah 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 blah. But you've got to look at it from these young lads' points of view as well. What if, like, Dembele, supposing he goes down and signs for, I don't know, Southampton, because you're always watching our players, kind of thing. Suppose he goes down and signs for them, gets a few million as a signing on fee, 40, 50 grand a week wages, and then in 2 years he breaks his leg and he's never kicks a ball again. At least he set himself and his family, and not just his family the new, the generations his family to come. He set them up for life, kind of thing. But just with
It happened to the late Liam Miller, sure, when he went to that moved out to Manchester United, and he got that leg break, and he never kind of recovered from that either.
aye.
Liam Miller, you know.
But I mean,
You know.
football's littered with players like that, Paul. You know,
Mhm.
it's like, and again, it comes down to a bit of luck that you get a chance to these big teams down in England for crazy money and things like that. There we're talking about Farouz. I mean, he'll still be getting his whatever 20, 25 grand a week off of Chelsea. His contract ran out the other month. I mean, he's a rich young man and he's hardly kicked a ball in his life.
It's killing youngsters, though, Mark, isn't it? Like giving them that amount of money, like then, do you know what I mean? Like they've no.
No, because there'll be players, Paul, there'll be good players that are slipping through the net.
Mhm.
It's like, look at Andy Robertson. Right, when Celtic let him go and things like that, he went away and worked his socks off and worked his way through the kind of the system with no Queen of the South, Queen's Park, worked his way up, and look where he is. But what if somebody, when he get released for Celtic, somebody down in England to say to him, come down and sign for us, well, £1 million sign your own fee, we'll give you 15 grand a week. But he's not progressing as a footballer. You get what I mean? I keep saying to you, Paul, for me, young players need to be playing games to become better players. I mean, even Ben Doak going down to Liverpool, it's a better system. They've got like the Premier Youth League and all that, but it's still no playing for trophies and playing meaningful games, in my opinion, Paul.
No, but like he's going down there, Mark and Zeus said, like he's going to be playing like our codes league that our players are playing now is actually more competitive than the youth leagues down there. You know what I mean? Because they're playing against fucking practically men.
The coach team, well, they're still playing for points and that down there, Paul, and that
Yeah.
their leagues, but it's still no the same thing as playing for playing first team games and getting in about the nitty gritty things to side of things.
Mhm. And another question as well is why is the game on Monday night and not the weekend? Why is that? Was it, oh yeah, Rangers are playing Dundee on Sunday or something, is it? And that's why it was changed. They wouldn't let the sets of fans
Aye.
in around the city, I
Just
think.
I think it was a toss up what game is going to be played first, just for TV basically, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting till they kill the heads off each other in Australia.
Oh, jeez. Tell us actually, you were minister today when we were talking about that. Like, what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, the notion of it. Like, I mean, I've been lucky enough to be at a derby match, and Marcus, I'm sure, has been to numerous ones. Like, it's beyond crazy. You can take it outside of Glasgow. You know, it's the secure. All I can ever remember about that game is the security. I'd never seen so much security in my life, and you could sense in the atmosphere in the air, like you knew it was. You know, there was just the tension around was unbelievable, and I just think it would be hugely detrimental to Celtic to think that you could take that game over there and there not be trouble. And there, do you know what I mean? Because the bottom line is the stadiums in Sydney, the ones they're talking about, they're massive stadiums. Yeah, there's going to be tons of fans there, but there's still going to be a certain section of both sides. If they get fueled up and they have too many drinks in them, they can say what they want. And if that kicks off, that is going to be all over the news. And you only need 15 or 20 guys from either side to do it. And if there's and it'll be all over the news. And the club's reputation it'll be ruined because of it. I do agree with what the guys were saying, where you can't say we're not half of anything, but yet, you know, basically they're happy enough to go as the old firm. I don't know. I don't know. I think they could have got other sides. They could have got like maybe Celtic and Feyenoord. There seems to be a bit of a link there. Or
Why
St. Paul.
not get one of the pub leagues to fly you for it? One of the teams for doing in England. If it's this kind of money spinners that are all.
Leicester.
Liverpool or any of these, or you know, they could get anyone they wanted. You know what I mean? But like to get those two to go and play a game when they consider a friendly. Like, I mean, as much as people don't like it, the whole ethos of the Celtic Rangers thing is one's Catholic, one's Protestant. It's sectarian, it's hatred, it's everything else you could say. And you know what I mean? To think that you can just bring that across the other side of the world and everyone all of a sudden forgets about it. It's not going to happen. And
the lobby parley, the new and that. But see when they're all sitting in the pubs before the games and that, and you start getting tanked up in that terms. That's into
that's what I'm saying. The problem is, Mark, for argument's sake, Celtic go and play and Celtic win or Rangers win, whoever, and there's a bunch of Rangers fellas and a bunch of Celtic fellas, and they meet. It's just going to happen. It's just going to kick off. Because it just will. It's fact. Like if it's going to kick off in your own, it will kick off in their own city in Glasgow. Like it's going to kick off half around the world, and Celtic will be all over the papers. Their fans writing, fighting,
exactly.
blah blah blah.
And you know, Celtic that be in the papers, Darren.
Well, it will be, but it won't be good for either of them, Paul. You know what I mean? It won't be good for either. It won't be good for Scottish football.
Do Australia really want Rangers fans over in their streets shitting in their pantses? You know?
But I just think the people who do promotion of it.
What's that fella then? What's that fella, Mark, that takes the abuse off him then? The fella from Pakistan.
Oh, I know the guy you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, like him over there then, letting Rangers fans take abuse out of him then. Like,
that wee Abdul guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that boy's an idiot. An idiot.
And before I go on, Cameron, sir.
I just think it's a bad move. I think from the murmurs that you're feeling, there's a lot of things. Even you'd hear the ex-Rangers chairman Mountain saying he'd have never sanctioned it, and so I don't know. I think at the end, I think
even think Peter Lowe would have sanctioned this, Terence.
I think they said that the SPFL or the SFA or one of them have to basically allow it to occur.
I think that's what's going to be the get out, Terence. I think Celtic and Rangers will both look to the SFA or the SPL, whoever it is, to put the kibosh on it, and that'll be their way out of it. Because the backlash for both SC fans, I mean, it's one of the few things in the last few years in Scotland that's actually united Celtic and Rangers fans. None of us want this trip to go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first thing they actually agreed on, Mark.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let Celtic go themselves. It's Ange's homecoming. Go back to the town and get someone else to fill in. Anyone, but not anyone.
Why do we want them over there for Ange's homecoming terms? You know what I mean? Like Celtic are a big club anyway. We should be able to track our own teams or locally.
No, but Celtic's the main show here, Paul.
Exactly.
So it's been an invite to Celtic to come out, and then obviously whoever's putting the money in for it has said, well, who else can we get? And they've come up with this idea. But Celtic have obviously okayed it for to approach Rangers, which it's just not a good idea at all, in my opinion.
Out there, just Peter there, who's actually new to our live chat, he makes an interesting point here with Dembele. Dembele thought he'd make the grade mark at 15. Crushed the lad who think the young lad fruits at the time. Do you remember him? Actually, he thought he was the next fucking superstar as well. So like, does Dembele, maybe as a youngster, thinking too much of himself, Mark? Does he actually think he's better than he actually is because of all the hype that he was as a youngster?
People have heard contradicting stories about it. Some people have said that he's a quite quiet and like unassuming type of lad, and other folk have said he's a bit flashy and arrogant and that. So, to be honest, I know some that could comment on or say for definite kind of thing, because I've heard both sides of it. Suppose it depends as well what situations you're meeting people in. You know what I mean? If he's a young lad out in a nightclub or that, and flashing his money about, he might come across as a bit flashy. But if you meet him in Asda when you're out doing the messages, he might be quite. Do you get what I mean? I think you've got to look at it with these kind of contexts are. But some people have said he can be a bit of a twat.
Probably said Rangers must be feeling like a conjoined twin with this geek. Jesus Christ, the twins he comes out with. I tell you, Jesus.
Laurie and Dory.
Yeah. That's it for tonight. Terence, seriously, thanks very much for joining us tonight. It was very late notice after Michael and Jonas couldn't join us tonight. Thanks to you guys in the live chat, and Peter, our new fella tonight in live show. I hope we see you again. Mark will close the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul. Thanks very much for coming on terms, as Paul says, in late notice. Just thanks very much. All the guys that have joined us a live chat and the new guys that were in, thanks a lot for coming on. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed as well, and help share it. And if you know how, please leave a comment in the video, because it helps us grow on YouTube and that. Good night, God bless, and hail, hail.